Well, hello friends and welcome back to our channel. Mr. Wayne is here to help me. Look at all these beautiful potatoes. These are the small potatoes that are left from the red ones that we had picked. And then we got to pick dig our Kennebecks and our onions. We got to harvest a lot of stuff. But anyway, these, I showed you, I did swamp potatoes with the others and I showed you how to blanch them. These ones I'm going to get ready for the freezer, but all I'm going to do with these is we're just going to parbake them because we can use these in the middle of winter for potato soup and all kinds of stuff. So all we're going to do, they're all cleaned. I mean, they're like triple washed. We're not going to put anything on the pan. Maybe let me spray it just a little bit. Just give it a little. Just a little. And then, good. And then all we're going to do is just quarter these up, and the little ones, we're just going to cut them in half. And then I even saved, look at these, the little baby ones. These are the greatest in soup. See those little ones? They'll be wonderful in soup. So I got one I just stepped on. Okay, so we're going to take care of this. We got zucchini that we got to process up for the freezer for zucchini bread. We got all kinds of stuff to do today. We got cookies to make. So we're going to do all that in this video. So you're going to be hanging out with us quite a bit, friends. But anyway, we're going to go and we're going to get these all quartered up. See, we'll show you when we're all done. That's not very sharp, is it? I'll sharpen this. We'll see you back here in a minute. Okay, friends, now that these are all cut up and they're beautiful, chunked up, we are going to season these. Very simple. I'm going to season them so they're not obligated to a certain dish, but I do want to season them a little. So I'm going to do some salt on these. Potatoes love salt. I'm going to do a little bit of pepper. Beautiful. And I'm going to do a little onion powder. Pretty much, unless you don't like onions, you'll season a lot of dishes with onion powder or use onions. And here goes just a little bit of parsley. Just a little bit. And that's it. That is all I'm going to season these with. These are going to go right in a 400-degree oven. Get down there. And these are going to parbake for about between 15 and 20 minutes. And I don't want them completely cooked. I just want them to where they're not going to turn black in my freezer. So about 15, 20 minutes. I'll see you back here and I'll show you how they turn out. Okay, those are in the oven. And I know now that I am repeating myself because I just ground up a bunch of zucchini the other day for zucchini bread. But these are gorgeous out of my garden too. And I let them grow just a little bit bigger. Not, enormously huge, but just perfect size for zucchini bread. But they're really not good to fry up because, I don't know, maybe this size would be okay. But we're just going to cut these up, friends. And we're going to grind these up. So if you've seen me doing this, bear with me, friends. There might be somebody out there that hasn't seen it yet, and I cut that all jacked up, but I think that should fit. So I'm going to get these cut up, and I'm going to get grinding them. There we go. last time I cut them, I didn't cut them thin enough. And they got stuck in my food processor. Perfect. I'm going to show you a little secret too. And you're going to think, no, that can't happen. But I'm telling you, give me just 2 seconds to finish cutting these up, and I'll show you. Okay. Remember I told you, if your patty pan squash get a little too big, because I like them even a little bit smaller than this. This is a good stuffing size. This one is just too big, you know. This one's good. I cut these up and I grind them up with my zucchini. You can do that at squash, first off. Secondly, it makes your zucchini bread so moist and delicious. I'm telling you, if you have patty pans that are a little too big, or you grow patty pans because they're pretty and you're just not sure what to do with them, grind them into your zucchini. They make wonderful zucchini bread too. Let's see. All right, I'm going to get the rest of these cut up. I told you the secret. It's wonderful, and it works quite well. These are a little rough to cut. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay, friends, here we go. I alternate them so they get ground up together quite nicely. I got a big bowl in here, so I can hold quite a bit. Perfect. We're going to put it right in this bowl over here. I'm probably going to need more, or a bigger bowl maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I'll fit it all in there. I'll give it my best shot. And I got the blade on the bottom, so it grates it, and then it chunks it up a little bit, almost like, not quite pureed, but it makes it nice. So I do that. Okay. I'm going to get the rest of this done, and then I'll see you back here when it's all ground up. Okay, friends, look at all that beautiful zucchini. So what I'm going to do is I use my half-gallon bags. I love these. And I'm going to put probably about 6 cups in each bag, because I do about 6 loaves at a time. Sometimes I do 12. I did 12 loaves the other day. But all I do is just most of your zucchini bread recipes call for 2 cups of grated zucchini. So if you're just going to do 2 at a time, you can package it 2 cups. But I'm going to do 6. So there you go. I'm going to get all these packaged up. And then I'll label them and get them in the freezer, because they won't last long. I've been selling zucchini bread out of my stand like crazy. Oops. I don't want that all over there. My counter's clean. All right. I'll get these all bagged up. There we go. And then our potatoes should be done in a few minutes. We can get them out. Oh, we don't want that to bust. Okay. Let me get these finished, and then we'll be able to get our potatoes out, and you'll see how those do. This will be wonderful. A wonderful addition to your freezer. Especially if you like zucchini in the middle of the winter. Ooh, how wonderful that would be. This won't last. I've got some already in there. I've got this. I'll have more because most of my zucchini. Now, I like the yellow summer squash. Zucchini is not my favorite to, grill or whatever or saute, but I love it in zucchini bread. So I grow mine a little bit bigger, and then I've got plenty of zucchini to go ahead and make my zucchini bread for my market stand. All right, friends, I'm going to set this all aside over here because our potatoes are ready to come out of the oven. And look, they turned out wonderful. We'll leave one set there, one up there. These need to completely cool before we can go ahead and bag these up too. So they're beautiful. And they're not completely done. They still got, quite a bit of resistance to them. But now they won't turn black. So as soon as these are cooled off, we'll be able to bag these up, and I'll show you that too. Okay, friends, our potatoes are cooled off enough that we can package them up. And this is going to be a wonderful addition to my pantry or my freezer. I'm going to see if I can't, I got 4 packages, so I'm going to divvy these up into 4. Because these are wonderful, especially for potato soup. I use these for a lot of soups. And you don't always, if I don't use all of them, I can just put it back in the freezer because they won't stick together. But look, there's one. We'll leave that open just in case we can fill a little more in there maybe. But these are fantastic, friends, because you can take these, you can use them in potato soup, soups, casseroles, cheesy potatoes. You could just take them out, fry them up with some sausage or some bacon and onions. Oh, the sky's the limit. And they're good. I love it. These were out of our garden, and one went on the floor. I even got the little ones in there, the little babies. Ha! They're cute. But those are good in soups, too. My mother used to love the little potatoes. And my grandmother used to take these potatoes, and she would roast them from her garden. And, oh my gosh, were they good. She put garlic and butter and all her rosemary and thyme, all her seasonings on them, and they were absolutely phenomenal. I used to love my grandma's potatoes. And my mother would always fry them with bacon and onions in her cast iron pans. Just to die for. Yep, I think 4 packs will be just perfect size for 2 of us. Now, we certainly wouldn't need all that if I did them fried, so I'd probably, use half and then put the other half in the freezer, back in the freezer. This is how easy this is. No blanching either. You just parbake them, and they're ready for the oven or the freezer. You could probably do that with the swamp potato video that I did. I blanched them. However, you could probably parbake them and they'd turn out just the same. Get all the air out of these. Beautiful. They're all labeled. They're ready to go. I want to get the air out of this one. Perfect. 4 nice half-gallon bags. Of my red potatoes. When we dug our potatoes, friends, our red potatoes, we probably got about 60 pounds of potatoes. Now, I've got some in my market stand. I've given some away. I did some with the swamp potatoes, and then I got these. The next one we got to do, we got to dig our Kennebec potatoes. Those are going to be a chore to dig. They're big potatoes, and they're beautiful, but digging potatoes is just not any easy task, I'll tell you. All right, friends. We got these two done. These are going to go in the freezer along with the zucchini. And I think I've got a couple other things on my list. And I'll see you when I get these. I'll see you after I get these in the freezer and we move on to the next little chore I got to do. Okay, friends. The last thing I have to do today is can up my beans. And I should have done them yesterday, but as you see, I went shopping instead. I went to Sam's, I went to Travers with my friend and had a ball. But I do need to get this done. This will be the end of this video and the end of my to-do list because within the next few days, I'll be picking more beans. So what I'm going to do, my jars just got out of the dishwasher. They're not screaming hot. So I do got water on the stove. It's not going to be screaming hot either. You want your water to match the heat of your jar and your food. And because my beans are all cold going in here, my water will just be warm, lukewarm. All right, I'm going to fill my beans up. You want to push them down a little bit. There we go. I fill them right just to the neck. Perfect. Okay. Let's see. We'll move this one over here. I'll get all these filled up. I picked a 5-gallon pail of beans, friends. I grow tons of beans every year, but I do sell a lot of them. So I'm just going to take it right up to the neck. Push that down and it'll be perfect. Right there. Well, I guess I could put a few more in there. See how nice those look? And then I got goodies that I put in with them. I don't just can them plain. Because even though, I could, because I season them when I cook them, this way I don't have to do that. I'll just be able to toss them in a pan and heat them up. And it'll be perfect. So it's just a matter of filling your jars. And I just fill my beans right up to the neck of the jar. Okay. I don't want them all over the place. So I'll get these jars all filled up. You got the general idea how I do this. And then we'll be back and I'll show you all the goodies that I put in them. Okay, I had just a few beans left over, and it's all right. I'll just put them in the fridge, and we'll have them with a meal. All right, this is chicken stock, chicken bouillon, and I'm going to do a half a tablespoon in each of my quart jars. And I'm not putting salt in because there's a lot of salt in the chicken bouillon. So I'm putting that in for the flavor. We love this. That way, a lot of times I use my beans, I'll use them in soup and casseroles or whatever. I'll just use the liquid in there. I'll use that. I'll use the entire thing. If I make a pot of soup, I'll dump the entire thing in there. I'm also going to use a half a tablespoon of onion soup mix. And between all that, this will be just absolutely delightful. When you can beans, you can, and any vegetable, you can season it up in the jar. It's wonderful. Okay, that's that. All right, now we've got all my water here. So we're just going to slowly fill these, get out of there, slowly fill these up. And it's not screaming hot water, but it's warm. Whew, that's a heavy booger. And when we debubble these, we might have to top some of them off, and that's okay. We'll have enough. See, I can touch it. It's not screaming hot. It's warm, but it's not screaming hot. All right. What I use, a lot of people use a chopstick. Some people use a butter knife. You can. As long as you don't beat the heck out of your jar, you're not going to hurt it. I just use my little rubber spatula here. And I run it down there, all the way down the sides to release the bubbles in there. You don't want bubbles in your stuff because that's what harbors bacteria. Okay, we'll do this one. So you want as much of the bubbles out as you can. And see how beautiful that winds up? I've done this so many times, friends. I've been canning since I was in my late teens. Okay. Look at how nice that is. Beautiful. Doesn't look like I'm going to need to top any of these off. These are going to be wonderful. Sometimes when you debubble, you wind up having to top it off a little bit. And I just bring it right up to the neck of the jar, you know, like a half-inch head space it would be, I believe. Inch head space, somewhere in there. But it turns out wonderful. I'm not one of those that measure the head space, but if we measured it, it would be a half-inch. And that's good. This one seems pretty full. Okay, we got that. All right, now that we got all the, I'm going to take a piece out and throw it in there, and in there, and in there. Okay, now that we got, yeah, I'm going to take that piece out too. Put it over there. Beautiful. Okay, now I'm going to get my rings and my lids, and then we're going to wipe our rims and put our rings and lids on. Okay, friends, I got my lids and rings ready. I got my canner out. So my canner requires 3 quarts of water. So we're going to put that in there, and we're going to turn that on to high. With that, I also put a splash of vinegar in my water Just a little bit. Because that's what keeps your jars from clouding up in the water. If you forget it, don't fret. You'll just have to use vinegar in your dishwater when you wash your jars and they'll come beautifully clean. So we're going to wipe all these off. You want all the debris off this rim. Always wipe this off. Don't forget. Really, you can't forget any of these steps. You don't want to. So even if you have to write yourself a note of steps, go for it. Because you don't want to forget these steps. If you have debris on your ring, it won't seal. If you don't debubble your jar, you take a chance on, creating a nice environment for bacteria. And you don't want that either. So if you have to write a note, write a note. All right, so that's good. And when you handle your lids, do your best not to touch the rubber gasket. Just on the outside and just center them on the jars. So easy to do. And this is so rewarding, friends. I'm telling you, food in your cupboards is like money in the bank. And when you grow your own food, yes, you've got your time into it. But you know what's in your jars. You know what you're feeding your family. And if you do all the steps right, you're going to give them a wonderful meal and not their last. You want to give them their last meal. That's why I always can by the book. I don't never take shortcuts. I don't never can stuff that hasn't been tested. I don't do that. I want to give my family a good, healthy, wholesome meal, not their last, So that's how I do. And if any of you are wondering where a good, reputable source for canning is, go to the USDA. The National Center for Home Preservation. They got everything. Canning, pickling, freezing, dehydrating. They got information for everything in there. And it's wonderful. So these are ready to go. My canner only will fit 7. So we're going to go ahead and put them in there. I get them in there. I try not to bang them together too hard. Beautiful. All right. These 2 are going to be on deck waiting for the next one. And yes, I run it with just a couple of them in there. You can put some dummy jars in there full of water if you want, but I just run them in there. It works okay for me. All right, I've got an all-American canner. So with this canner, wrong way. There we go. Now I want to turn this so that the gauge is out, just like that. Okay? My canner, I have to do 2 sides at the same time because you want it to screw down even all the way around. So you don't tighten them too tight. Always just finger tight. However you can tighten them, as strong as you are. You don't want to get a wrench and crank it down because you won't have a canner very long. And it's not going to fly off. It's not going to go nowhere. Perfectly safe. All right. Now I can look at that and it's even all the way around. And I'm happy with that. So when this starts to boil, I got my universal jiggler. I thought I had a different one. I forgot since last year. Anyway, when this starts to boil, friends, you're gonna see steam spewing out of this vent. That's what it's supposed to do. And you want that steam to spew for a good steady stream for about 10 minutes. That is going to expel all the air out of your canner And it's going to ensure that your canner reaches the proper temperature, the kill zone, 240 to 250 degrees, so that it can kill any bacteria inside that jar. So we're going to let that happen. When that starts to come to a boil, I'll show you that, just in case there's those of you out there who've never done this. Really, I'll tell you something. People are very scared of canning meat. And I'm going to tell you, meat is probably the easiest thing ever to can. But when you've been canning for so long, you just know it. But my brand new friends out there that maybe want to can beans this year, this is a really good recipe. So I will come back when that starts spewing air, and I'll show you what to look for. Okay, friends. I got the light on behind my stove because you can see this right in front of my hand there. That's spewing. You want that to spew for 10 minutes. So I'm going to time that for 10 minutes. I just wanted you to see that. That's what you're going to look for. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay, friends. It's been 10 minutes. I'm going to put my jiggler on 10 pounds of pressure. It's already starting to build pressure. When that comes up, when the gauge is 10 pounds of pressure, that little jiggler will start jiggling. That's when I start timing it. And I'm going to time this for 25 minutes. So when it's jiggling, I'm going to start timing, not before. I'll see you when it's done. Okay, friends, this is done. My 25 minutes is up. All I'm going to do with this is turn the burner off and leave it. Don't take that jiggler off. Don't try and stick your fork under there so that the pressure releases real quick. You just want this pressure to release naturally and cool down all on its own. Yes, it might take a little bit, but don't force it. So that will take probably about a good half hour, and I'll be able to open this up and get into it. And when that time comes, I'll come back and I'll show you just how I do it. Okay, friends, this is all done and it's cool enough to handle. So all we're going to do is start unscrewing this. It's going to be a lot of steam, so open it up away from you. Even if it's cool enough to handle, there's still going to be a lot of steam. If you don't open that lid away from you, you are going to get quite the facelift from that steam. So make sure you open it away from you. All right, our beans are done. And they are beautiful. Take a look at those gorgeous jars, and it smells divine. I just carefully unload them. I'll let them sit here all night, and they'll probably all be beautifully sealed in the morning. And then I can wash them, label them, and put them in the pantry. If any of you are wondering what do I just throw the other jars in there like that? No, I don't do that. I'm going to dump this water out, put fresh water in, and start the whole process over again for the 2 jars. And I'll do that off camera. But there you have it, friends. You hung out with me for a couple days. We did a little odds and ends that I needed to get done on my list. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me in my kitchen. You all have a wonderful night. Give the beans a try. I'm telling you, they're wonderful, especially with that little bit of broth in the onion soup mix. Oh, they're divine. And it's lovely to have that in your pantry. A wonderful addition. I will see you guys in the next video. And as always, thanks for watching.